Hi everybody, I'm coming to you live from Minot, North Dakota, where I was born and raised, and we are at the Scandinavian Heritage Park. And this park was established in 1988. It is the only one of its kind really in the world that represents all 5 of the Nordic countries. And I'm right in front of the Scandinavian Heritage Center, which isn't open today because of the COVID situation. But I'm going to take you on a little tour of the park and tell you a little bit about my home state of North Dakota. So let me turn the camera around here and tell you a little bit about what we're seeing. So we're in the Scandinavian Heritage Park here in Minot, North Dakota. And I will tell you a little bit about the state of North Dakota, first of all, because I know a lot of you probably don't know anything about it. This is the 19th largest state in area in the United States, but it's like the 4th smallest in terms of population and the 4th most sparsely populated state in the United States. It was admitted to the Union on November 2nd, 1889, the same year that South Dakota was admitted. Its capital is Bismarck with about 75,000 people. Fargo is the largest city with 110,000 people, and Minot is the 4th largest city where we're at with about 50,000 people. Farming, of course, is a big thing here in the state. North Dakota has about 90% of land area in farms. 10% of the population is employed in the agricultural sector. However, that's compared to about 3% nationwide. The state is the largest producer in the U.S. of many of the cereal grains, and such as wheat, soybeans is a big crop, corn, sugar beets, canola has gotten to be a lot bigger crop. And of course, you've heard a lot about the fracking, the oil extraction that's been going on in the state here for the last few years. That is more in the western part of the state over by Williston. It's in an area called the Bakken Formation. And so right now, because of the COVID situation, people aren't traveling as much in the oil. Of course, we've got excess oil reserves, and so that has kind of slowed down here in North Dakota. Now, of course, we're going to be talking a lot about the Scandinavian countries, particularly the Norwegians here in North Dakota. People always ask, well, what brought them to North Dakota? Well, there was a famine in the 1800s where it rained for a couple of years in Norway, and they were unable to really produce their root vegetable crops like potatoes, and so they were literally starving, combined with some diseases that were happening at the time. Heard about the Homestead Act here in the United States in 1870. Many immigrants came from Europe, particularly Norway, to North Dakota, and they started Lutheran churches and schools, and pretty soon they were greatly outnumbering other ethnic minority groups here in the state. To this day, here in North Dakota, we have about 32% of the population of Minot is Norwegian. About 30% of the population of the state is Norwegian. Germans, though, are still the largest ethnic group. There's 47% population of Germans. And then, of course, down the list are Irish, Swedish, Russians, and also French and English. So this building here over on the right-hand side is kind of the main building for the Heritage Park. And in it houses a number of the organizations here in town that are sort of related to Scandinavian heritage and tourism. The Minot Convention and Visitors Bureau is here. And of course, you see the sign there for Norse Hostfest. Norse Hostfest is actually the largest Scandinavian celebration in the entire world. And that takes place out at the North Dakota State Fairgrounds every October. This year it's not going to be held. There's also the Scandinavian Heritage Association in this building, as well as the Sons of Norway. And so this building right now is closed. Heritage Park that we're in right now was started in 1988, and it's to celebrate the Scandinavian heritage, believed to be the only park of its kind in the world. So we're looking at Plaza Scandinavia in Observatory. The 5 Nordic countries of Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden are represented in this beautiful 65-foot diameter work of art. It is executed in colored granites with the shimmering blue-black granite, Norwegian pearl blue representing the oceans of Scandinavia. So let's come up here and get a little bit better look at this. So we're looking down on Plaza Scandinavia, which is a granite map that represents the 5 Scandinavian countries. On the top left there, that white blob is Iceland, and then of course the reddish colored country would be Norway. Down here you've got Denmark, and then Sweden, and then off in the distance there would be Finland. And again, this is called Plaza Scandinavia. Here we have another nice look at the Scandinavian Heritage Center. Really a beautiful building. In this little rock, or beneath this little rock, is buried a time capsule. They buried this in 1989. And then down on this end, we have an authentic Danish windmill. This was actually on a family farm. It was a working windmill, it still is, of rock and a concrete base. So yeah, there's a nice view of it right there. In 1928, the windmill was built by Carl Olsen in Powers Lake, North Dakota, and was used to supply water and grind wheat for the family. And it was donated to Roosevelt Park in the 1960s by the Olsen family. And a new, more prominent rock and concrete base for the windmill's present location was constructed by the Scandinavian Heritage Association volunteers and then moved here. So an authentic Danish windmill, very cool. This is kind of a nice perspective here too. From up here you can look down on this water feature that they have. You can go walking across these bridges here. Down this way they have a waterfall actually that we're going to see in just a minute. Here we see a statue of Hans Christian Andersen, famous Danish children's book writer. You probably remember the story about the ugly duckling, so that is depicted here. This statue, of course, is just one of many that we'll see in the park as we travel along. Here we have another bronze statue. This one is of Leif Erikson, famous Icelandic explorer. The statue is dedicated in honor of the Icelandic ancestors who came to America, and was donated in 1994 to the park. Sculptor is Arlen Evanson. Coming up here ahead of us, we've got an authentic freestanding sauna built in the traditional Finnish style. Isn't that cute? The sauna or steam bath is the heart and soul of Finland's culture and traditions, and this authentic Finnish sauna is a beautiful handcrafted 2-room building made from solid white cedar logs. And this sauna was built in Phelps, Wisconsin, and transported to Minot from the FinFest 97 USA celebration. And this permanent display in the park was made possible by many of the generous contributions of area Finns. And traditionally, the Finnish sauna bath was the center of Saturday night social activity with neighbors and friends. And this sauna is heated with a wood-fired stove with rocks. And when water is applied to the heated rocks, a delightful, warm, moist, cedar-scented environment is created in the sauna. And so this unique structure is complete with a cooling porch that you see here. And so kind of a tribute to the Finnish. And of course that is not open right now. One of the really nice features of the Scandinavian Heritage Park is this beautiful cascading waterfall and rippling stream that flows down to the serene ponds that we just saw in the distance. And so very, very nice. And we're actually going to go up on top there to get a view down from the waterfall. And another statue dedicated to the Norwegian-born captain of the U.S. ski team that was involved in the 1936 Olympics, and 7-time Central States ski jumping champion and national amateur ski jumping champion in the 1930s 3 times. And he was on the Olympic ski team in 1932 and 1936, and also one of the captains. You see this beautiful view of the Norwegian Stav Church. We're going to go inside there in just a moment. So here's a wonderful view from atop the falls, looking down from where we came. You get a great view of the entire Scandinavian Heritage Park here. I'll kind of pan around so you can see. We were just down there looking at those statues, and now we're going to take you to see the Stav Church. Before I take you in to see the Stav Church, I wanted to tell you about this beautiful Dala horse. This is Swedish. 30 feet tall replica of brightly colored horses from the province of Dalarna, Sweden. And these brightly colored horses are one of the most recognized symbols of Sweden. Doesn't that look like a Viking right there? And they've been carved in various sizes by Swedish craftsmen. They take their name from the province of Dalarna, where it has been a popular form of domestic art since the 1840s. And historical accounts vary in giving credit to woodsmen and to soldiers in terms of the origin of the craft. It is certain that long autumns and winter evenings with little to do, coupled with the availability of wood scraps from the furniture making trade of the area, fostered the development of the Dala horse. And the very first Dala horses were just plain wood, created as toys for children. And hundreds of years later, they took on their familiar bright colors with curbit or flowered patterned saddle and harness designs. And so the Dala horse here is one of the most popular attractions here at Scandinavian Heritage Park. So we're going to turn around here, take you in the Stav Church. We'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second. So we're looking at the Stav Church here in Scandinavian Heritage Park. This is a full-size replica of a Stav Church in Gol, Norway, which would be north of Oslo. Groundbreaking ceremony was attended by many dignitaries from both America and Scandinavia when they placed this church here in 1999. It was actually built by a logging company, a company that built log homes in Park Rapids, Minnesota. And they built it there, disassembled it, brought it here, and reconstructed it. And so it was dedicated, the church part of it was dedicated in October of 2000, and they held services in there since 2001. It's 60 feet tall and then 60 by 45 feet wide. But it's a memorial to pioneer immigrants who uprooted themselves from Scandinavia to make new homes in America. Noted wood carvers Philip Auden and Elsa Bigton from Baronet, Wisconsin completed the intricate carved front and side portals and doors. And some 700 to 800-year-old Stav churches in Norway still stand. But this particular church is a replica, full-size replica of the original church built in Gol, Norway in 1250. And it was originally built there, but it was moved to a park in Oslo. And so that is actually the oldest Stav church in Norway. These Stav churches were once common in northwestern Europe. The name is derived from the building's structure of post in lintel construction, a type of timber framing where the load-bearing or pine posts are called stav in the modern Norwegian language. And in layman's terms, that church was basically built with no nails. They just cut the pieces of wood so they would fit together, kind of the same way that the Vikings built their Viking ships. In fact, during that era is when this type of construction got its start from the Vikings. And but they were originally, these Stav churches were originally much more widespread, and most of the surviving Stav churches in the world are in Norway, and the only remaining medieval Stav churches outside Norway there's one in Sweden and there's one in Poland, and so the rest are all in Norway. But let's go in and take a look here. Okay, we're inside the Stav Church now, looking up at the altar. And of course, everybody wants to see the ceiling here, so let me see if I can get that for you. Kind of looks like a Viking ship up there, doesn't it? Because of the same type of construction.
Yeah, there's no nails in the church.
Right, and so
it's all tongue and groove like this here.
Tongue and groove like this here. And you were saying that the construction here is kind of taken from the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then those built and paid like this.
Oh yeah. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. So you said the only thing that really has nails in it is the floor, right? Yeah, but look at these doors. The doors are just incredible. So you do special events like weddings?
Yeah, they have
and
weddings and baptisms.
Right. Wow, this is very nice. Very, very nice. Do they heat it in the summer or winter time? They don't heat it in winter time. So it's only, yeah, wow.
The chairs aren't original.
The chairs aren't original, yeah. Wow, this is really something. And I thought Marty really looked like a Viking himself, but he tells me he's Russian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But your wife is Norwegian.
But then the Vikings settled in Russia, so
Right.
you know, I could have some.
Right, yeah, definitely.
There's maybe about the outside where the dragon head.
Oh no,
The dragon heads on the outside.
Can we go out there and look?
Those are carved, hand carved. Those are just like.
Oh yeah, you did tell me. You were talking about the dragon heads on the outside of the church.
Yeah, those were carved by the doctor's son, and those were just like the ends on their ships, Viking ships.
Oh, just like the ends on the Viking ships.
So those were hand carved by the Dr. Peterson's son.
Hand carved by Dr. Peterson's son. So again, we're looking down at Scandinavian Heritage Park here. And you know, when I was growing up in Minot, North Dakota in the 70s and early 80s and going to college, the mayor of Minot at the time his name's Chester Wrighton. And he started talking about, you know, having a Scandinavian festival in Minot. And you know, when I first heard about it, I thought, boy, that sounds like a crazy idea. Who would ever come to Minot? And so the first one they held, I don't know, back in the early 80s, I think it was. And there was about 1,000 people that attended. And now these days, it's a huge event, the largest Scandinavian festival in the world, and it attracts nearly 100,000 people over the weekend. And they have entertainment and arts and crafts straight from Norway. So, and then also some great entertainment from the United States too. But you see the statue here of Myron Peterson. He was a local doctor, and he was the guy that had the vision for this, and the benefactor gave much of the money to have this started. And Chet Wrighton, of course, Chester Wrighton was second in command at that time with regard to planning this park. So you know, this has all happened since I moved away from North Dakota in 1982. And so when I was living here, they never had this. So this is really a wonderful addition to the city of Minot. So anyway, let me turn this around here so you guys can see me. Okay guys, so thank you for joining me on this little mini tour of the Scandinavian Heritage Park. I hope that you enjoyed it. And tomorrow we're going to head down to Bismarck, North Dakota, and I'm hoping to do the same thing, kind of from the state capitol grounds there, show you a few things about my home state. And then of course on Wednesday is the big day when I'll be broadcasting from the Badlands in western North Dakota from Theodore Roosevelt National Park. That's going to be at 11 o'clock Pacific time, 12 o'clock Mountain, 1 o'clock Central. So long from the Scandinavian Heritage Park, and we'll see you next time.